Hello from Becky and me, and welcome to the programme.
First, it was a brutal murder, and one that's gone unsolved for 30 years.
But tonight, police believe they're a step closer to finding out who killed Sally McGrath. The 22-year-old was found buried in a shallow grave at Caister Hanglands in Cambridgeshire in 1980.
Today, cold case detectives arrested a 58-year-old man in connection with her death and a series of sexual assaults dating back to the 1970s. Stuart Leese is at Thorpe Police Station for us now. Stuart.
Well, the latest is that the man they've arrested in connection with the murder of Sally McGrath has not yet been brought here to Thorpe Police Station in Peterborough, but he is expected here tomorrow for questioning to begin. And 30 years on from Sally McGrath's death, police say her parents have been shocked to learn that an arrest has finally been made. It's a picture postcard scene now. But 30 years ago, these woods, known as Wild Boar Spinney at Caister Hanglands to the west of Peterborough, were at the centre of a murder investigation after the discovery of Sally McGrath's naked body in a shallow grave.
Sally's naked body was found dumped here amongst the primroses in March last year. It's part of a woodland nature reserve 5 miles from Peterborough, and it's quite a lonely spot. The nearest road is at least 200 yards away. She'd been savagely beaten to death, but neither her clothes nor the murder weapon have ever been found.
Now detectives who've reopened the investigation into her death say the arrest of a 58-year-old man this morning at Fareham in Hampshire could be a significant step forward in the case.
This is an horrendous crime. It might be 30 years old, but it's a horrific set of circumstances where a young girl with a life ahead of her has had that cut short. She was in her early 20s. She was a girl from Peterborough who had everything to look forward to.
Sally McGrath was just 22 years old when she was last seen alive on the 11th of July 1979 in the company of a man at the Bull Hotel here on Westgate in the city centre. It wasn't until 8 months later, on March the 1st, 1980, that her body was found wearing only a pair of boots. A post-mortem examination showed she'd died from head injuries. Retired Detective David Cooper led the original investigation.
The main problem was that we were dealing with people's memories because although she was last seen in July 1979, it was about 9 months later before the body was found. And so no murder inquiries commenced obviously until there was a body. And that was the problem.
As well as Sally McGrath's murder, the man will be questioned in connection with 7 other alleged serious sexual offences involving women aged between 17 and 24 around Peterborough in the 1970s. One was reported in Helpston in 1973. The following year there was an attempted rape in Ferry Meadows. A rape was reported in Peterborough in 1975, and between March and August 1979, a further 4 women were allegedly raped around the Peterborough area. Police say Sally McGrath's parents, who still live in Peterborough, are aware of this latest development.
After 30 years, you can imagine that anybody who's learned to live with something as horrendous as this will be shocked to hear that the police are reinvestigating the matter. They were surprised, shocked, but nevertheless hugely supportive.
Detectives hope more witnesses will come forward to help them finally solve Sally McGrath's murder, more than 30 years on from her death.
So, Stuart, given that it was such a long time ago, where does the investigation go from here?
Well, Neil, the 58-year-old man who was arrested in Hampshire this morning, as I say, will be brought here to Thorpe Police Station for questioning, which is expected to start tomorrow, but not only in relation to the murder of Sally McGrath, but also in connection with 7 other rapes and attempted rapes. And detectives think that questioning will take some time. But, of course, a few days is not a long time to wait for what could be a significant development in a case that dates back some 30 years.
Stuart Leith in Peterborough, thank you very much. Now, heavy snow has been falling across parts of the region again today, with more forecast for this evening.
Thick falls brought parts of Essex to a virtual standstill this morning, forcing nearly 200 schools to shut. East Suffolk and northwest Norfolk were also hit, and there are warnings of more to come. Victoria Lampard has been in Essex for much of the day. Victoria, how are things looking where you are now?
Well, I'm pleased to say that the A12 here at Hatfield Peveril is moving freely in both directions. Can't say the same for further south of the county. That's been worse all day long, particularly the roads surrounding the places like Basildon and Southend. I travelled on the A130 this morning, and even at 10:30 this morning, there were sections of the road where the snow had already turned to ice and the cars were bumper to bumper. It actually took me about 45 minutes just to do 10 miles there. Now, as you can see, it's not snowing at the moment, but it has been snowing really heavily here in the last couple of hours. You can see here the depth of the snow, and with the temperatures continuing to fall for the people who are walking through this snow or driving through it, the conditions are just going to get worse.
A bleak Southend pier this morning as the snow made its way down to Essex. The beach covered in a blanket of white as the south of the county found itself worst hit.
Well, the gritters may be out on the major roads, but for these residential streets, as you can see, they're still covered in snow. And that snow is now turning to ice, making conditions very dangerous.
On the roads, drivers were faced with long delays throughout the day. In Chelmsford, the Army and Navy flyover was closed and it was bumper to bumper for commuters trying to get to work. The conditions meant nearly 200 schools had to close.
My staff and my pupils come from a really wide area of Essex. Some live on main roads where it's easy to get in, and others live in very remote places where it's very difficult to get in. And a number of my staff this morning were saying they didn't think the roads had been gritted. I'm guessing they probably had, but the snow had come down just so heavy.
While almost 200 schools closed in Essex, it was business as usual elsewhere. In Norfolk and Bedfordshire, only 2 schools closed. In Northamptonshire and Hertfordshire, 3 schools were affected. But in Suffolk, Milton Keynes and Cambridgeshire, all schools remained open. Essex County Council's 65 gritters are operating at full strength, but we're being warned that conditions are likely to get worse.
It's important the traffic moves while it's snowing because it maintains that free flow on the road. Overnight tonight, the expectation is temperatures are going to drop below freezing and we will have frozen road surfaces, and that's another aspect to this that will make it very, very dangerous for people who won't see the ice.
As usual, the advice is to only travel if it's essential. Many people will be taking that advice and making the most of their situation. Victoria Lampard, Anglia News in Essex.
So no sign yet of an end to this prolonged cold spell. Amanda is outside now. Amanda, it seems the region has been divided in what you might call a snow sandwich.
Yes, I mean, that's a good way to describe it. For example, this morning we had 13 centimetres recorded at Castle Acre, west of Norfolk. 80 miles away, there was 12 centimetres at Rayleigh in Essex, which is nearly 5 inches. Now, if I just show you the latest satellite and radar, you can see the middle slice of our region did stay mainly dry, but there was a band of snow to the north of us and another lying across the south, which gave the heaviest snowfall in Essex this afternoon. So obviously where we've had the snow showers, there is the greater risk of a widespread ice, so do take care. Now, we did hold on to those north-easterly winds over the next few days, so it's going to feel absolutely raw tomorrow. For example, rural parts of Suffolk will barely reach highs of -1. Now, take the wind chill into account, it will feel more like -6, so will feel unbearable for some of you out there, so you will need to wrap up warm. And not only that, it looks like we could see more snow in the south on Thursday, but I'll have more details on that a bit later on.
Thanks, Amanda. And of course, she'll be back with a full forecast later